a new episode segment, right? This being number 3. So Brian McLaren, I watched his video, A New Kind of Christianity, again from 2012. I just watched another one of his from 2019 about how religion destroys the world, can destroy the world, and how religion can save the world. Good stuff. I think he offers this really amazing, very good perspective. I really identify very much with his manner of thinking and recognize his a lot of clarity in his thinking. Important clarity, significant clarity. And me representing, of course, multidisciplinary philosophy and developing that into multidisciplinary theology for Jesus' legacy and integrity and pluralism and spiritual modernization. So, let's see here. Brian McLaren, in his talk, sort of was referring to science versus religion and which God, versions of God. And so I thought he didn't seem to show at that time this insight that I find very helpful and important in resolving this science versus religion appearance of conflict, based on the fact that I think it's truer to say that science is a Christian-derived practice. It is, in fact, scientific philosophy, originally called natural philosophy, and one of the philosophical scholarly practices developed by Christian, monastic, and mendicant and religious figures. In science, I'm recalling at the time of the monk on a vow of poverty, Thomas of Aquinas, there was Bishop Robert Grosseteste and Roger Bacon, Franciscan monk. Roger Bacon was a Franciscan monk. Bishop Roger Grosseteste was also from England, like Roger Bacon, but a bishop in that was still the Catholic Church at that time, in the 1300s. So now let's see here, which God, which version of God Brian McLaren is referring to here. Brian McLaren talks about how he was raised right wing, and let's see, in critiquing and questioning beliefs, he simply he's approaching it with this kind of beginning with this angle, critiquing and questioning beliefs. He cites a poem by the Israeli poet Avakai. Let's see here, the dangers of being right. Doubt and love dig up our world was a phrase. Doubt and love dig up our world is a phrase from the poem. So he's very much addressing the inclination by the fundamentalists to avoid doubt. So let's see, he gives some of his biographical details. Brian McLaren does. He was an English major. He appreciated C.S. Lewis, Walker Percy. He identified a Christian faith with intellectual honesty. John Donne, he refers to the more, the early modern poet. And so, as an English major, he became a pastor, Brian McLaren. 1990s, he had a further crisis as a pastor with a faith crisis. And so he's developed 10 questions about transforming Christianity. And so he gets into, his first question is about narrative. What is the big story of the Christian faith? So that's interesting. And he goes into, let's see, later he gets into some of these issues. Where's the big story of the Christian faith? And I guess, well, my sort of, what would be some of my thoughts on that offhand. The big story of the Christian faith would be what? Jesus' emergence from the Jewish tradition, declaring himself as the Son of God, and with an amazing combination of life, mission, and message, with the resurrection, the crucifixion, the suffering leading up to the crucifixion, and his apparent death, and what then can only be called his death in terms of the logic of then the resurrection and the evangelical fervor that gripped the disciples, which doesn't make sense in terms of Jesus being tortured and being crucified alone, and that being the end of it. What makes sense, or even some kind of lie being concocted. Something happened that really changed their orientation, changed the disciples' orientation. So, and then that all then sort of sealing or certifying or surrounding and invigorating and reinforcing